What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we finish up our talks on the Clockwork Soul Sorcerer, that which seeks to correct all of the chaos in the universe and do it in a very effective way, as we talked about earlier this week. I'll put that up in the iCard above. Make sure you watch that video before you watch this one, so that you can understand the ins and outs of this subclass. But basically it's really good and definitely worth playing, and I'm ready to put that into application today. But before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Also make sure to click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded, and share the video with your friends. Also, the best way to support this channel is by becoming a member. Down below, by clicking that join button, you can of course gain access to all of my build guides as well as my subclass fix guides. Just a little way that I like to give back to the community for helping me out there, and it really helps me in doing what it is that I do. Of course, there are other benefits as well, custom emotes, and then there's also some higher tiers as well. The Silver Snapper tier gets you all of my videos a day early, which is awesome, and of course you get special shout outs. At the Gold tier, you get some other really awesome perks which are going to be evolving in the near future, and just some really cool stuff. But of course, you just being here and watching the video means a lot to me, so thank you. So Clockwork Soul, of course, is one of the best sorcerers that's out there. Like I said, it got a 10 out of 10, and I even said that I think it's better than the Aberrant Mind Sorcerer, and I stand by that. I think it's really good. The expanded spell list is incredibly powerful, and it really can't be understated how amazing that flexibility is in allowing you to pick things from other classes that you normally may not have access to, or at the very least, save you slots in your limited number of learned slots, which is really cool. So definitely an awesome option, but how can we really bring it all together and make it even more effective with some incredibly light multiclassing? Let's find out. So of course, before we jump into it, here are the rules for this series. Of course, your stats may look different than mine, but that's fine. Of course, your stats may be rolled, maybe normal, standard array, maybe point by, whatever it is, just adjust as needed. Of course, every table does it a little bit different, so there's no way that I can possibly match to everybody. So there you go. Starting off, we have our race, and I'm going with a choice that I haven't gone with in a long time. It's a really good race, and honestly, I don't know why we don't talk about this more, but it's the Mountain Dwarf. This is not the most obvious pick, I don't think, when it comes to this kind of a build, but to me it works out great, and mainly there are two big reasons why I want to do this. Number one, we get medium armor proficiency right off the bat, which is really nice. So we could go ahead and wear that armor if we wanted to have medium armor, because we don't worry about the sorcerer kit where we don't get any kind of proficiency. So that's really nice. And on top of that, there are a couple of other things. And the first of those is that we no longer have to worry about the strength requirements that come with wearing heavy armor. So that's a big deal, because we are going to get proficiency with heavy armor on this build, and being able to ignore the strength requirement is nice. Yes, our speed is a little bit slower, but honestly, it's fine. I'm really not that worried about it, and it'll be okay. It'll be fine. On top of that, we get 2 +2s in our stats rather than a +2 and a +1 or 3 +1s. We get 2 +2s, which is great. This is only one of 2 races that gets a total of +4 to stats right off the bat, which is awesome. So for that, of course, we're going to be throwing that in our 2 top stats. Our top stat, of course, is going to be our charisma. Next is going to be constitution, pretty obvious there. Then we're going to go with wisdom in the 3rd slot. Then after that, it really doesn't matter. I would probably put dexterity next, just because dexterity will come up. And then finally, strength and intelligence. We can dump strength because we don't really need it for armor purposes, and intelligence, we don't need it all. Then for our equipment, so here's the thing, your starting equipment is not going to match up exactly with what you need and want. So it's really going to be table specific what you get here at level 1. If you were doing gold buy, I would recommend getting the best armor you possibly can. up to and including heavy armor. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to afford full plate or anything crazy like that. That's a way down the road thing, but that is the goal eventually. You know, once you do save up enough money and do some better quests and that kind of thing, I would go for full plate eventually. But at least starting out, just get the best armor you possibly can, because we will have proficiency with pretty much all armor, so definitely take advantage. So let's start taking some levels. At level 1, we are going to be a Sorcerer. It makes sense to start Sorcerer most of the time because of those Constitution saving throw proficiencies. It helps out a ton with maintaining concentration, and we're going to have tons of spells that require concentration. We don't want to be dropping that. So we get spellcasting and restore balance right off the bat. Spellcasting, of course, amazing, gives us our spells. We'll come back to that. And restore balance, the ability to cancel advantage and disadvantage, is really, really good, especially just at a first level spell. Especially just for a first level feature, man, this is going to really save you, especially if you get crit really early on when your health is low, or if you have a wizard or something like that. This can be life-saving, absolutely. You know, if somebody knocks your wizard prone or you prone or something like that and is threatening a big hit, at least you can get rid of that advantage, which will definitely help your chances of survival. Will it guarantee it? No, but it does certainly help. For spells, we'll start with cantrips, and I will go ahead and take something like Firebolt just so that I have some reliable damage. Prestidigitation is also a really nice utility spell, kind of a do-it-all type of thing. And Mind Sliver, I think, works out very well here as well. I think for a build like this, our goal really is not the damage dealing type of thing. We're really here for a utility and support role. And that's really where this shines, is keeping things alive, making sure that your friends can shine, and you do that very effectively. So I'm really not worried about going for the fireballs here, which I know is slander to a lot of people, but I'm really worried about taking these spells that really can help our team be better overall. And so you'll notice a theme in that as we go along. For first level spells, we get alarm and protection from evil and good already. I don't know that I really would keep either of these, and I'll talk about some that I would take instead here in a second. But on top of this, spells that we will normally get, Silvery Barbs, duh. I'd probably grab Charm Person here, to be honest. Just another really good support spell, can help you outside of combat. Besides that, pick your favorites. You know, if you want some damage, okay. If you want some support, go for it. There's plenty of good options. As far as spells that I would swap out Alarm and Protection from Evil and Good for, Absorb Elements, Shield, and Long Strider are really at the top of my list here. I think all three of those work really, really well as first level spells. So I would take two of those three, and then I would take the other one just as a normal spell on our sorcerer list. So definitely works out good there. You could also go with Armor of Agathis. That's an option if you wanted to do that. Personally, I don't know that I want to put myself in a situation where this is useful, quote unquote, but if so, it's an option. Definitely consider it. At level 2, we are going to be deviating away from Sorcerer, but only for the one level. I think that this deviation is actually very nice, and really, you know, this type of a build is not anything new, but I do think that it's so effective that I can't really skip over it, and that's going with the Order Cleric. The Order Cleric, of course, is very similar in what it is that you worship and what it is that you are about, in the idea of order and making sure that chaos does not make it through. So the combination works so well thematically and mechanically that I really just can't ignore it. So as a cleric, we get a couple of things. Number one, we get spellcasting, of course, and we'll come back to that. But we also get Voice of Authority. Voice of Authority is basically what is the rogue's best friend. This allows you to force an ally of yours to make an extra attack, which is huge. I think that's awesome, especially as your rogue gets better and better and better, or if your paladin has something set up and wants to attack again with smite, you've got options there too. Again, the idea here is making sure that your friends can shine and you are the one that is getting them there. You are the enabler, and that helps out a lot. As far as cantrips go, I'd probably go with something like guidance, spare the dying, thaumaturgy, things like that. Again, more utility based things. I'm not worried about taking something that has an attack roll or a saving throw. So Toll the Dead, probably not going to be my first pick, to be honest, just because my wisdom is not going to be nearly as good as my charisma. So it is what it is there. For first level spells, we get command and heroism off rip, which is pretty good, honestly. If you think that something has the inability to pass your check, then maybe go for it. But overall, I'd probably focus on things like Bless, Healing Word, Detect Magic, things like that. There are some other options there on that Cleric kit that would work nicely here for you. So now that we've had that little stint there, we're going to go right back up to Sorcerer, and we're not going to look back. We're going to be a Sorcerer the rest of the way. That's how light the multiclassing is on this build. I know it's very out of character for me, but I think it works. I think it's the best way that we can possibly do this, and it works out really, really well. As Sorcerer 2, we get Font of Magic, which gives us our sorcery points. We don't have anything to spend them on just yet outside of some spell slots, but that will change once we hit Sorcerer 3, which gives us our meta magic options. So we get 2 of them here, and the first one is one that I say you have to take. The second one, there's a list of ones that you could take here if you wanted to. The one that you have to take is Extended Spell, which honestly, I don't know that I would say that about any other sorcerer subclass. The Extended Spell one is normally just kind of meh, but it works out really well here because we get access to Aid. Aid is normally an 8-hour duration, and it raises everyone's max HP number, well, a number of creatures. It raises their max HP number. So when you extend it, that means that you have now 16 hours worth of a duration, which means that you can blow this on the highest level spell slot that you have remaining before a long rest. Take the long rest, and then you still have 8 hours worth of aid, and you've gotten back your sorcery points, you've gotten back your spell slot, you've gotten back all that stuff. So that is incredibly helpful. Definitely do that. Very, very, very good. I love doing that. The other one I would probably take here is Twinned Spell. I think there are a lot of spells here that would work really nicely to twin. We'll get more and more as we go, but I think that it's really helpful to be able to knock 2 enemies out with some of this support stuff rather than just 1. So definitely consider that. As far as spells go, again, we get Aid for free here. I definitely would not switch this one out. Lesser Restoration is very good, and if you don't have a cleric on your team, I would keep this. If you do, maybe consider swapping this out to something else, and we'll talk about that in a second. But Crown of Madness, Enhance Ability, Enlarge Reduce, Hold Person, Misty Step, and Vortex Warp are all really nice options. For other spells that I would consider swapping to, I would consider things like Levitate and Rope Trick, both really, really strong options, especially Rope Trick. Definitely an underrated spell for those who don't quite understand how it works, but it's really, really good and will absolutely save your lives if you use it correctly. At Sorcerer 4, we get our first ASI or feat, and I'm just bumping stats. I'm just going to even out both my charisma and my constitution. I don't think there's really any reason to do anything else but to gun for 20 charisma very first thing, and so that is what we are going to do. At Sorcerer 5, we get Magical Guidance, which is a nice little buff to what the sorcerers can do. Again, this came later in life with Tasha's, which is pretty nice, but still great feature. I like having it. We also get 3rd level spells here. We get Dispel Magic, which is not bad at all, for free, and Protection from Energy. I'd probably swap this one out. I would probably take either Haste or Counter Spell. Haste, especially if we're going to be running Twinned, and then Hypnotic Pattern is really nice, and Slow is really nice as well. Again, we're looking at possible ways to really mess up our enemies here. Maybe not necessarily by dealing damage, but by, with slow, if somebody makes a bunch of attacks, then you're like, no, you can make one attack, which is pretty cool. So definitely nice there. For other options, Counterspell is one that we can take here, which is really good. And one sleeper pick here is Tiny Servant. Tiny Servant, of course, comes to us from the Wizard list, and it's great. It's really good. I definitely would consider having that around. There are, of course, some really weird tricks with how the mechanics of D&D works. I'm not going to get into it because it's a little bit cheese, but it definitely can be helpful, so definitely consider that. At Sorcerer 6, we get Bastion of Law, which is awesome. Just gives us a little sponge to be able to soak up some hits for us and some nearby allies. Definitely never going to be a bad thing. Honestly, I would spend as many sorcery points as you can afford, but honestly, the combination of the aid boost plus this is going to make everybody pretty tanky, especially if you're rocking some heavy armor at this point. Yeah, you're going to be the beefiest sorcerer that's ever lived, and it's going to be super, super nice. At Sorcerer 7, we do not get any features, but we do finally get 4th level spells, which is really cool. We get Freedom of Movement and Summon Construct for free. I probably would keep Freedom of Movement, to be honest. I don't mind that spell at all. Summon Construct, I probably would swap out for something else just because there's an entire polymorph right there, or banishment. And so you can take one or the other and then grab the other through swapping things out. There's also Charm Monster, which I think is not a bad option. Again, this could get you some valuable information, could end a fight that was going to be happening or is happening. Definitely a nice option there. For other options that I would consider, of course, Banishment and Polymorph are good switches, but Fabricate is another one that I would consider. This is basically unlimited money glitch. The spell is essentially is what this is. So definitely consider taking that. It's a more complex spell, but super, super nice and could be really nice. I definitely could see that being good. At Sorcerer 8, we get another ASI or feat, and if we weren't beefy enough, let's take the tough feat. We need a little more HP to go with our really nice armor, and Tough Feat is the easiest way to do that, boosting our HP by quite a bit at this point, and it's going to continue to do so as well. And we're going to continue helping out ourselves with our Constitution score as well to make it even better. It's going to help out a lot with that D6 hit die. Next up, Sorcerer 9, we get 5th level spells, and we get Greater Restoration for free, as well as Wall of Force. I'd probably keep both of these. If you have a cleric, maybe you can drop Greater Restoration, but I would definitely keep Wall of Force 100% of the time. Hold Monster and Dominate Person are very good options that you get just as a sorcerer. Very nice control. Hold Monster is huge and can be encounter ending depending on who you have in your party. And then we also have, for things that we could swap in and out for, Animate Objects, Planar Binding, and Telekinesis are my favorite picks for possible replacements to Greater Restoration. Next up, at Sorcerer 10, we get a meta magic improvement, so we're going to probably just grab Quicken Spell. That makes the most sense to me. It's just tried and true. You could also go with Subtle Spell, but I think Quickened is going to be a little bit better in this case, so that's my choice. Sorcerer 11, we get 6th level spells. I would consider some of the Investitures, honestly. I don't think that those are bad. Some are better than others, obviously, but not too bad there. I also would look at Mass Suggestion. That's the other big one. Definitely huge for what it is that we are trying to go for, and makes a lot of sense. As Sorcerer 12, we get another ASI or feat. I'm just going to bump Constitution. Once again, I don't think there's any reason for me to do anything else. And so once you get your charisma maxed out, I think we just start going for maxed out Constitution. Just makes the most sense to me anyway. Then Sorcerer 13, 7th level spells. Etherealness is pretty cool. Situational, yes, but still really good. Power Word Pain and Finger of Death are decent. There's not a ton of spells in the 7th level range, honestly, that I'm like super excited about. There are a few that are good, but honestly, I'd probably focus on some of the lower level spells and then upcast them at this point, to be honest. But they're there if you want to do something like that. At Sorcerer 14, we get Trance of Order, which is cool. We get to enter our Super Saiyan type of state and, you know, cancel advantage, which is huge, as well as some other things. Yeah, this feature is pretty cracked and I love having it. It's super good. It's super good. Don't know what else to say about it. It's awesome. Then Sorcerer 15, we get 8th level spells. Dominate Monster and Power Word Stun are both right there. I absolutely would take both of those if you can fit them. Then Sorcerer 16, we get another ASI or feat, our second to last one. And we are going to just bump Constitution again if we have not maxed it out already. So that's exactly what we're going to do. Then Sorcerer 17, we are going to get another meta magic option. This one really doesn't matter at this point. It's 18th level now. So if you want to take Subtle, if you haven't taken that yet, go for it. If you wanted to take Empowered Spell, that's another option, maybe, since you actually have some sorcery points laying around now. But we also get 9th level spells here, which is great. So, you know, Mass Polymorph, Meteor Swarm, Power Word Kill, Wish. All of them are going to be insanely good, so it's really take your pick and you can't go wrong there. Sorcerer 18, we get Clockwork Cavalcade. We get to summon our little army of robots, and they do some pretty cool stuff. They heal, they fix things. They're pretty awesome. They end spells, which can be pretty awesome depending on what the spell is, so definitely worth having there. And finally, level 20, we have Sorcerer 19. We could go ahead and bump Wisdom here, or you could take Metamagic Adept. Metamagic Adept could have been taken at any time in order to give us some more Metamagic options, some more sorcery points, that kind of thing. I personally think that going with the ASIs is a little bit better, but it's a great option if you want to take it no matter how late. So that's our build for today. Let me know what you think down below. For honorable mentions, of course, we've got some pretty cool other options we could have gone with here. Number one, the Stars Druid makes a lot of sense to me. This, of course, would help us with our ability to support our allies, and it's honestly super great. Just the different starry forms offer some really cool stuff, and the Chalice one especially is what comes to my mind here in helping to keep your friends up and going. The Paladin, of course, is a huge one to consider, and honestly the Watcher's Paladin makes a lot of sense, both mechanically and thematically. Are they specifically lined up with the Order and those deities and that kind of thing? No, but honestly I think the theming works well enough to where you could definitely build a character and it would work out pretty well. And finally, the Warlock, of course. The Warlock's going to work on almost any sorcerer, to be honest, but I like Great Old One here. Of course, there's always the option for Hexblade, but that gets a little boring, so I'd probably go Great Old One. Honestly, I think it's pretty helpful there. Archfey is also another fun option. For other feats that we could have gone with, of course, Warcaster is always sitting right there for us. Warcaster is huge in being able to help us to maintain concentration, but honestly, just with the abilities that we already have, I really don't think that I need it, and I think I'm fine. I think I'm fine as is. We've got Shadow Touched as well that we could take, or even Fey Touched. They both are nice. Of course, we do get access to Misty Step naturally, but this would give it to us, and we could either go with Charisma or we could go with Wisdom, depending on what we wanted to do. Either way, could be really nice. And finally, for other racial options, my primary pick is honestly the Reborn. And the Reborn is one of those that doesn't really get talked about all that much. I personally love it. I think it's great. It gives you some basically bless on some of your ability checks, which can be huge. And so I think that's really, really fun. And also the Mark of Shadow Elf, or a lot of your Mark races, to be honest. Anything that's going to give us even more spells that we can cast, yeah, those are winners to me, so definitely consider those. So that's the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed. Tomorrow we have our week 7 match going up against Amel, I believe. Yeah, going up against Amel for seeing if we can possibly squeeze out a playoffs appearance in LTM, and I'm looking forward to that. Until next time, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.